Some disappearances don't leave evidence. Because nothing fought back. When we found the campsite,
it looked untouched. No blood, no damage, no panic.
but the hikers were gone. My radio stopped working right after that. The forest didn't feel empty.
It felt like it was waiting.
This is Ranger Log, unofficial.
I'm recording this after hours. Off the books. No case number attached. If this ever surfaces, it means something went wrong. I've been a park ranger for a long time. Long enough to know the difference between a bad situation and a wrong one. This was wrong from the beginning. The call came in just after sunset. 2 hikers overdue. Names checked. Permits verified. Route logged correctly. Nothing unusual on paper. That's the part people don't understand. Most disappearances don't start dramatic. They start boring. I drove the service road slow. Slower than regulation. Headlights low. Dust lifting behind the truck and hanging there. Like the air didn't want to move. The radio crackled once. Just once. Then nothing. No signal loss warning. No follow-up burst. Just silence. That happens sometimes out here. Dead zones. Old equipment. Still. I tried again. No response. When I reached the trailhead, I sat in the truck longer than I should have. Engine idling. Hand still on the wheel. Listening. Wind in the trees. That steady, hollow sound that carries farther at night. I followed the trail on foot. Flashlight angled down. Boots placed carefully. You don't rush into a backcountry site after dark. You let the forest tell you what kind of mood it's in. The clearing came into view slowly. And the tent was already standing there. Perfectly upright. No sagging poles. No slumped corners. No signs of collapse. It looked intentional. I stopped at the edge of the clearing. Didn't step in right away. That's habit. You pause. You watch. If someone's hurt, they'll call out. If something's wrong, the forest usually lets you know. Nothing did. I walked a slow circle around the site. Flashlight low. Beam steady. No scattered gear. No torn fabric. No drag marks. The fire ring was cold. Ash settled neatly. Like no one had disturbed it since dusk. Then I noticed the ground. Soft soil. Perfect for footprints. There were some coming in. None going out. I checked again. Changed angles. Moved the light. Still nothing. That's when the pressure started. That subtle feeling you get when you're standing somewhere you shouldn't be. Like the space itself is aware of you. I approached the tent. Didn't unzip it yet. Just stood there, listening. Fabric shifted slightly in the breeze. A sound too close to breathing for comfort. When I finally opened it, I did it slowly. Inside was clean. Not tidy. Clean. Sleeping bags laid flat. Zippers open. No signs of panic. Backpack stacked neatly. Food sealed. Water untouched. One pair of boots sat near the entrance. Still laced. People don't leave boots behind. Not at night. Not in the cold. Not willingly. I stepped back. Radio in hand. Called it in. My voice sounded different in my own ears. Thinner. Like the forest was swallowing it. I didn't touch anything else. I stood there longer than I should have. Counting seconds. Waiting for something to explain itself. Nothing ever did. If you're hearing this, and you want more stories rangers aren't supposed to talk about, you already know where this goes. Because this was only the beginning. I didn't leave the site right away. Protocol says you secure the area, mark it, then pull back until backup arrives. Protocol also assumes the situation makes sense. This one didn't. So I stayed. I walked the perimeter again. Slower than before. Deliberate. Flashlight angled low, skimming the ground instead of cutting through it. The soil was soft. Recent rain. Perfect for impressions. Every pine needle showed. Every broken twig. I followed the footprints that led in. 2 sets. Side by side. Normal spacing. Normal weight. No dragging. No hesitation. Then they stopped. Not faded. Not disrupted. Just ended. I stood over the last clear print for a long time. Boot tread still sharp. Edges clean. It looked like someone had lifted their foot and never put it back down. I checked farther out. Widened the circle. Nothing. No partial prints. No scuffing. No slide marks downhill. If they'd run, the ground would show it. If they'd been taken, something would be broken. The forest gives evidence whether it wants to or not. This time, it gave nothing. I marked the boundary with tape. Bright against the dark. The tape fluttered slightly. The trees didn't. That's when I noticed the quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Empty quiet. No insects. No night birds. No movement in the brush. Even wind sounded distant, like it was happening somewhere else. I tried the radio again. Static. Then a faint pop. Then silence. I remember thinking how small that sound felt. Backup arrived 40 minutes later. Headlights cut through the trees. Engines idling too loud for the space. 2 other rangers stepped out. Both paused when they saw the tent. No one said anything at first. They didn't need to. We walked the site together. Repeated the same steps. Checked the same ground. Same result. One of them muttered. Where'd they go? No one answered. By first light, Search protocol kicked in. Maps spread out on the hood of a truck. Grids assigned. Frequencies checked. Everything by the book. Dogs arrived just after sunrise. Experienced K9 units. Good handlers. They started strong. Noses down. Bodies eager. Until they reached the clearing. Every dog stopped short. Not confused. Not distracted. Refusing. Handlers pulled gently. Encouraged. Tried alternate angles. The dogs wouldn't cross the tree line. One sat down. Another whined softly. I watched their ears. Pinned back. That's never a good sign. We pushed the search outward anyway. Trails. Ravines. Creek beds. Nothing. No dropped gear. No torn fabric. No broken branches. By noon, the sun was high, but the forest still felt dim. Shadows clung where they shouldn't. I walked back to the campsite alone. Stood in front of the tent again. That's when I noticed the orientation. The door didn't face the trail. It faced the trees. Deep forest. Most hikers turn tents toward the path. For safety. For comfort. These two hadn't. They turned inward. Like they were watching something. Or waiting. I wrote in my notebook that afternoon. No evidence of forced departure. It looked neutral on paper. It wasn't. Because something had removed two people. Without disturbing a single thing they owned. And the longer we searched, the more it felt like the forest was letting us look. Not helping. Just allowing it. By the third night, the search had slowed. Not officially. On paper, everything was still active. Grids expanding. Teams rotating. But the energy was gone. People spoke less. Moved slower. Listened more than they searched. I volunteered for the late patrol. Solo. No one argued with me about it. That bothered me more than if they had. The forest changes after midnight. Not visually. Emotionally. Sounds don't travel the same. Distances feel wrong. I parked the truck well before the campsite and continued on foot. Flashlight off at first. Letting my eyes adjust. Moonlight barely filtered through the canopy. Just enough to outline the trail. Every step sounded louder than it should have. Boots on dirt. Fabric shifting. My own breathing. I kept stopping. Not because I heard something. Because I didn't. The campsite came into view again. Still clean. Still untouched. The tape we'd tied earlier fluttered weakly. A sound like paper rubbing against itself. I stood there and waited. That's part of the job too. You wait. You let the space settle. You see what returns when you stop moving. At first, there was only wind. Soft. Even. Then something else. A sound just behind the tree line. Not footsteps. Breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Too controlled to be an animal. I didn't reach for the radio. Didn't call out. I stayed still. 10 seconds. 20. The breathing continued, unbothered by my presence. That's when the pressure hit. Like standing too close to heavy machinery. A vibration you feel more than hear. The forest felt attentive. The breathing stopped suddenly. The silence afterward was worse. No release. No movement. Just awareness. I shifted my weight carefully. Branches creaked farther out. Not near me. But not far enough to be nothing. Something adjusted its position. Not walking. Settling. I realized then I wasn't being approached. I was already accounted for. Every instinct told me not to turn my back. Not to run. Not to make it chase. I backed away slowly. One step. Then another. Never breaking the line of sight with the darkness beyond the trees. My heartbeat felt loud enough to give me away. When I reached the trail, I didn't stop. Didn't look back. I kept moving until the truck lights came into view. Only then did the pressure ease. I sat in the cab with the doors locked. Engine off. Listening. Nothing followed. Nothing needed to. Back at the station, I pulled old case files. Unexplained disappearances. Clean campsites. No tracks. They were rare. But consistent. Always deep forest. Always at night. Always personal items left behind. Every file ended the same way. Cause unknown. Search suspended. Status missing. I didn't sleep. I lay on the cot. Eyes open. Listening to the wind outside the station. Trying to tell whether it was moving through the trees. Or breathing. The search was officially suspended on the 7th day. That phrasing matters. Suspended doesn't mean finished. It means paused indefinitely. Until someone finds a reason to start again. Resources ran out first. They always do. Weather was shifting. Terrain was unforgiving. Statistics stopped favoring recovery. That's how it was explained. No one mentioned the silence. No one mentioned the dogs. No one mentioned the way the forest seemed to watch us pack up. The last morning, I returned to the campsite alone. Early. Before the crews arrived. Mist hung low over the clearing. Not rising. Not falling. Just present. The tent was still there. We'd been told to remove it later that day. Catalog it. Bag it. Store it with the rest of the evidence that never answers anything. I stood in front of it for a long time. Trying to imagine movement. Trying to imagine panic. I couldn't. Everything about it suggested calm. Order. That disturbed me more than chaos ever could. Inside, nothing had changed. Sleeping bag still flat. Zipper still open. Pack still closed. Food untouched. The boots were still by the entrance. I crouched down this time. Lowered myself to their level. Laces tied tight. Double knotted. Whoever owned them had taken the time to secure them properly, planning to use them again. I stepped back out and zipped the tent closed. Slowly. The sound felt loud in the quiet. By noon, the site was dismantled. Tape removed. Markers collected. The clearing began to disappear immediately. Wind knocked needles loose. Footprints blurred. The forest erased the shape of human presence like it always does. By the end of the day, it looked like nothing had ever happened there. That's the part people never think about. The land doesn't remember us. The files were finalized a week later. Names entered. Descriptions logged. Status, missing. Not deceased. Not recovered. Just missing. Those files sit in a cabinet at the station. Third drawer down. Left side. I know because I've opened it more than once. Sometimes I read the reports again. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just stand there. Hand on the drawer handle. Remembering how clean that tent was. I still patrol that area. Not often. But enough. Every time I pass near that clearing, my pace slows without me telling it to. I listen longer than I should. The forest sounds normal now. Birds. Wind. Insects. But I know better than to trust that. Because quiet doesn't always mean empty. Sometimes it means something is very still. Very patient. If you ever hike deep enough into a national park, far beyond the noise, far beyond cell service, and you come across a campsite that looks untouched, a tent standing perfectly upright, gear neatly arranged, no signs of struggle, don't assume it's abandoned. Don't assume the owners will be back. And whatever you do, don't unzip the tent. For more stories rangers aren't supposed to tell, subscribe to Park Ranger Confidential. Some warnings only get given once.